Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Orange County School Board's regularly scheduled meeting for this Tuesday, September 12th, 2023. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I don't know why, but I feel like this mic is not on. Can y'all hear me okay? It is on. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we have all of our board members attending in person. I also want to remind the public that board members will not be engaging in outside electronic or digital communication during the meeting so that we can focus our full attention on the business before us. To my fellow board members, district staff, and members of the public, when speaking, please make sure your microphone is turned on and speak directly into it so our YouTube and Orange TV viewers can hear you clearly. Again, thank you for participating this evening. It's nice to see those of you who are here. And we will begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I invite you to join us for a moment of silence. Thank you. And now for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And before we move on, I want to take just a moment to remember the tragic events of 22 years ago. I doubt there's anybody in the room, unless they're under the age of 25, who doesn't remember exactly where they were when they heard the horrible news. And I don't think that any of us who were alive to witness what we did on our TV screens will ever forget that moment. And I don't think we'll also forget how it brought our country together. That was the most horrific day, but the response of Americans across the nation was overwhelming. And so, as I will always mourn for the losses of those individuals and the family members and our heroic firefighters and law enforcement officers who did everything they could and are still paying the price today in terms of health implications and death, I will also never lose sight of what we are capable of when we find a common cause and a common goal, and we look beyond our differences and we recognize our shared values. With that, yes, by all means, Member Felder, please.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Chair, for remembering that day so many times, because it was 20-some years ago. People seem to look at it as just another day, but it was not another day. I was teaching at Dr. Phillips High School on that day, and I remember I was on my planning period, I was in the office, and I remember looking at the screen, and I said, oh my, there's another Die Hard 3. And they said, no, Vicki, look at the bottom of the screen. It says live. Oh my God, it was the most wretched kind of thing. And I'm saying something because Dr. Phillips High School, every year since that day, they remember the fallen souls and the members of the police department of New York and fire department. Every year, their ROTC, they come and they remember them. And what's so interesting, board members, is that on that day, we had a bomb scare at Dr. Phillips while that was going on. And they found it, but it had not been detonated. And the children, let me tell you something. I have never been so afraid and not knowing what to say, because President Bush came on and said there will be no planes flying. We have suspended airplanes, no flights. 30 minutes later, we saw a plane fly over near us, and the children I just told them, drop down. I said, just get down and hold on, just drop down. So that was a horrible time. but it was a time that we united as a country. Nobody cared about your political persuasion, your ethnic background. We understood that we were Americans. And the first thing I said, who doesn't love Americans? We love everybody. We're always giving money. We're always doing this. I said, who hates us that much? So here in this educational facility where we teach our children to love and respect people no matter what their ethnic backgrounds are, I'm so glad that we here at OCPS, we will never forget 9/11. We will never forget the attack that came on this country. And I want to thank you for remembering it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Member Felder. All right, we're going to start this evening's meeting with a new tradition. Each month, a school board member will be honoring an employee in their district. These employees have shown exceptional dedication and contributed to the success of our students. We're grateful for every single one of our dedicated staff members, and this is just one more way that we are pleased to be able to honor you. I would like to invite our Vice Chair, Member Gallo, who represents District 1, to tell us about the OCPS staff member she has selected for the very first school board spotlight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm super excited to be to have the honor of being the first school board member with this distinction to bring my person forward first. So, I am honored to recognize Timber Springs Middle's exceptional student education staffing specialist, Linda Kraft, who has worked for OCPS for more than 20 years. Linda is an incredible asset to OCPS and a tireless advocate for our ESE students and their families. She begins working with our ESE students when they are wrapping up their elementary years and continues to be a valuable resource as they move on to high school. Linda cares deeply about her students by celebrating their academic achievements and cheering them on when they're participating in extracurricular activities. She also builds strong relationships with her students and offers them a warm and comforting, safe space whenever they're feeling frustrated or overwhelmed. I can't express to you enough how many challenges Linda has helped my friend's son work through in middle school, including had accommodations for bugs in PE class, and storing macaroni and cheese cups in her office when he got hungry during the afternoon because his medication suppressed his hunger at lunchtime. One year, the student got very sick, and he had to reschedule all of his CFEs and make arrangements for him to have additional time. When the student started middle school, he was enrolled in honor courses, but his mom, my friend, was having none of it. She didn't want her student in honors classes. She wanted him in regular classes instead. So Linda called my friend and gently encouraged her not to underestimate her son's abilities. Because of Linda's support, that student is excelling in school. Linda is exactly the type of employee that every student needs and deserves, and that's why I am so proud to recognize her. Linda, thank you for all that you do to support our ESE students here at OCPS and everything that you do for OCPS on a daily basis. We appreciate you more than you know, so thank you very much.
Linda, thank you so much for going the extra mile for your students. We're so proud of you, and we're so thankful. And we also want to recognize that there are so many incredible teachers that are helping our ESE students. I can appreciate where that mom was coming from, and I can also appreciate how important it was to push beyond that envelope. So if we could get you to come up, and if we can get the principal and vice principal to come, assistant principal to come up, we'd love to have a moment to just take a picture and personally say thank you. I'm going to walk down. Yes, you definitely do. Thank you.
Thank you for your work, baby. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Angie will be right back. All right. I also want to call on the superintendent to see if we have any newly appointed administrators to recognize tonight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 3 new administrators this evening. Stephen Joseph Chiorossi is going to be the new assistant principal at Olympia High School.
I just wanted to thank the school board members, Superintendent Dr. Vasquez, and staff for giving me the opportunity to serve at Olympia High School. I want to also thank my principal, Christy Gorberg, who's here in attendance tonight, as well as my API, Brad Treffler, who have been incredible mentors to me at my time at Olympia. Also want to thank my wife, who's in attendance, Stacy. My 4-year-old son thought his nap time was more important, so he's not here. But I'm so excited to be an Olympia Titan, to serve the students, the staff there, as well as the high school office. So thank you.
Jenna Reeves Odo is going to be the new assistant principal at Conway Middle School.
Hi, thank you, School Board Superintendent Vasquez and staff for the opportunity to serve at Conway Middle School. I also want to say thank you to Dr. Trimble and Dr. Fritzler for presenting me with the chance to continue supporting our wonderful Falcon students, families, and community. I also want to say thank you to my 2 sons, Gavin and Jackson. They're my greatest inspiration. My amazing principal, Joshua Bing, and my friends, family, and colleagues for believing me and supporting me throughout this journey. Thank you again.
And we have Julie Ann Switzer, who will be the new assistant principal at Bay Lake Elementary.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you, school board members, Superintendent Vasquez, and staff for this opportunity to serve at Bay Lake Elementary. My journey in education thus far has been full of rewarding, challenging, and transformational experiences. Each school community, staff member, and student has impacted the quality of my crafts and made me a better colleague, teacher, coach, and leader. I will continue to cherish the moments I can connect with and support others, as they really do inspire me more than I can ever express. I'd like to thank the many mentors that have led me along this journey, including Miss Susan Abbey, Miss Tammy Hinton, Miss Christy Logue, Mr. Lee Parker, Miss Nicolette Allen, and now Miss Lakeitha Mincy. Thank you to my friends and colleagues who pushed me to do more than I ever thought possible, including my UCF cohorts, both the OCPS Master's cohort through UCF and cohort 13 of the EDD program. Thank you to my parents, who I know are watching over me, and I hope I make proud every day. Lastly, thank you to my family, my husband Kevin and sons Nate and Elijah, for sharing me with other families and students each day. I know it's not always easy, but allowing me to ensure all students have a promising and successful future is my dream.
Congratulations to all of you. We are so thankful that you have moved into the administrative ranks and will be able to support our wonderful teachers.
Thank you, Dr. Vasquez. And now we're on item 2.03, and this is a new item a fairly new item on our agenda during a work session. Pardon me? Oh my gosh! Yes, I want to do a photograph. Thank you. Okay, definitely. Okay, how about we'll do our new admin photo, and then we're going to have all the family members come up next, okay?
Good. Look happy. No, Teresa Jacobs' son. Kelly told me not to lock your sign. Good. Good. Look amazing. Look happy. Picture sleep. A little bit of crazy. There we go. Good. Friends and family? Yeah. Everybody, if you're in a reserve seat, you have to show up. Come on, kids. Come on. Sir. Yeah. Ma'am. Kids. All right. There we go. Good. Deep, backed up. Look amazing. Oh, you're blocking mom with the baby. Never do that. Good. Hold on. Look happy. Look happy again. Excellent happiness. Thank
All right. Thank you so much, Member Castor-Dental. Now we're on item 2.03, which is a new item on our agenda. During our work session in May, the school board provided some guidelines for our policy BEDH, and part of that was a pilot program for public comment. And we are, as part of that pilot program, we're inviting representatives from our district associations and councils to give a report. We're going to begin tonight with Clinton McCracken, president of CTA. Clinton, you up? Yep. Okay, you had that look on your face like maybe not.
I was being bad and chatting. Good evening. Thank you.
There we go. Better.
Good evening, Chair Jacobs, and thanks for wearing red for the day. Members of the board and Dr. Vasquez, today across the district, our members are wearing red for our Solidarity Day. Our union provides an opportunity for all of our OCPS instructional personnel to become advocates to improve this profession. And today we're wearing red as a visible sign of this solidarity and what can be accomplished by standing together. Of course, teacher pay is one of the things we hear most about. It is a problem I've spoken about at length, and many of you have shared that it needs to improve as well. But there are other things we need to look to improve at the same time. Our teachers are sharing a lot of frustration this year with extra work being asked of them, less time to plan their lessons, more checklists and data to gather than ever. We're barely 6 weeks in, and many are sharing that they're completely exhausted already. Just today, in Education Week, there's an article titled, "Teachers Work 50+ Hours a Week and Other Findings from a New Survey on Teacher Pay." The article discusses many reasons teachers consider leaving this profession. It talks at length about working conditions, feeling respected and supported by admin. I invite the district and the board to really take a deep look at what is causing stress for our teachers and what we can work together on to fix. Today I learned that teachers' lesson plans are being graded by admin. This is a professional career, and we should be treating our teachers professionally and with respect. Using a rubric for their lesson plans isn't going to produce better lessons. What it will do is create a hostile work environment. These are things that the article is referring to. I gave a copy of the article for each of you. You should have it. However, there are bright spots as well. Just this morning, I was visiting a school, and I had a really nice chat with the principal. We talked about how our building reps, teachers, and admin can work together to create schools where students succeed and teachers leave feeling respected and fulfilled. I saw a screenshot from a principal today at a different school wishing her faculty a wonderful Solidarity Day. She said she supports our contract and her teachers wearing red and is grateful that she has teachers who work with her. This is how it should be. Today, I want to extend an open invitation to all principals to consider the workload and well-being of our teachers when making decisions that impact their daily lives. Let's remember that our educators are the backbone of our education system, and their well-being directly affects the quality of education our students receive. Just 2 more sentences.
Go ahead.
I want to thank all of our principals who are building amazing working relationships with their staff, and I want to thank our teachers for the heroic work they do every day, and to our members for standing strong in solidarity today for a profession that we love. Thank you.
Thank you, Clinton. All right, next I want to invite Ron Pollard with OSPA. Is Ron here? Oh, there you are. You want to come forward and make some comments? All right, he waives his right to be heard today, but we miss hearing from you. So thank you for being here, though. And next I'd like to call on Nate Hay from OCASA. How are you, Nate?
Actually,
You're not Nate.
I'm Guy Swenson, but I am representing OCASA.
Thank you.
Hello.
It looked like maybe it was the hair or something
I look a little different.
different.
Good evening. My name is Guy Swenson, principal at Lake Buena Vista High School. I'm speaking to you as president-elect of OCASA, Orange County Association of School Administrators. I'm proudly representing 308 school-based K-12 principals and assistant principals. First, thank you to Board Chair Jacob, Superintendent Vasquez, and our board members for giving OCASA the opportunity. The topic I would like to discuss tonight is the new cell phone policy. Although there have been many challenges and concerns among parents, students, and staff, tonight I want to highlight some of the positive effects the new policy has had on our campuses. And OCASA wants you to know that there have been many. Much of the focus of the policy has been at the high school level, and I want you to hear from some of our esteemed leaders. These are their words. Andrew Jackson, principal Horizon High School, said, "Lunch has been the most obvious positive. Kids are actually talking to each other. I have students who now play cards and board games together rather than scrolling through TikTok. They are building relationships." Thomas Ott, principal at University High School, shared, "Students are engaging together more during common times, and participation in classes seems to be better across the board." Becky Watson, principal at East River High School, said, "Teachers are saying students are talking more and happier overall." And one of our newest leaders, Mark Wasco, principal of Timber Creek High School, said, "Students actually look you in the eyes when they talk to you now." Indeed, these are powerful words, and I have seen a similar transformation at LBV. It is important to know that this couldn't have been possible without a district-wide policy voted by our school board, including support from the Student Code of Conduct to provide the mechanisms for enforcement and follow-through at the school level. Since you often hear only the concerns and the negatives about many issues, it is important to the OCASA members to let you know that just 1 month into the school year, the net effect has been a positive change in our students' behavior and socialization. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so. That's such good news. You know, we can vote on stuff all day long. We can pass policies and make decisions, but at the end of the day, none of it means anything if our teachers, if our principals, if the entire team isn't on board to support it. So to our teachers that are out here today, thank you for being part of implementing that. And to our principals, thank you as well. So, and it just, all the things you touched on were the things that we had heard about. And if you watched our meeting, our main deliberation was lunchtime and the belief that the students would interact with each other more if we took away that opportunity to interact with their familiar friends on social media or their parents, whatever it was. So very validating. Thank you for being here. All right. We also have a number of proclamations. We're going to begin with proclaiming September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month in Orange County Public Schools. And I'm going to recognize Member Salamanca to read and present the proclamation.
Thank you, Chair. The National Hispanic Heritage Month, whereas Hispanic Americans have played an integral role in Florida's history before the early pioneer days of our current legacy of leaders in international trade, technology, education, and aerospace, and whereas Hispanic Americans share rich cultural and linguistic heritage and are a vital part of our economy, And whereas Hispanic Americans have enriched our social, intellectual, and artistic life in the United States. And whereas Hispanic Americans are the youngest and fastest growing segment of the United States and are expected to contribute 62% of the nation's population growth through 2050. And whereas our district student population includes 44% who are Hispanic descent. And whereas celebrating National Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th through October 15th allows us to appreciate and validate the diversity and character of our students, parents, teachers, and staff. Now therefore, be it resolved, the School Board of Orange County, Florida does hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th, 2023 as National Hispanic Heritage Month in Orange County Public School and encourages teachers, administrative staff, support personnel, and students to participate in activities that promote the Hispanic heritage. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Salamanca. We are also proclaiming September 17th as Citizen Day and Constitution Day, and September 25th through the 30th as Celebrate Freedom Week in Orange County Public Schools. And we are proclaiming September 18th through the 22nd of 2023 as Start with Hello Week here in Orange County Public Schools. We have no strategic plan update, so I'll call on the superintendent to see if we have any changes to the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do have one item that we are withdrawing, item 13.02, requesting the approval of the construction change directive to Lake Buena Vista High School and Horizon High School CTE Labs Comprehensive Project. We will bring it back to the board in the very near future.
All right, thank you so much. Chair finds cause to amend the agenda as requested by the superintendent. I'll entertain a motion to amend the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Vice Chair Angie Gallo. Is there a second? Second by Member Castor-Denel. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And let me ask, before we go any further, do we have any public comments regarding the agenda?
No, Madam Chair,
Any
we do
items
not.
on the agenda? Okay. And we'll move on to our public hearing, 3.01, and which is request approval of the adoption of the millage to support our 2023-24 final budget. Dr. Vasquez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is that time of the year where the board will consider the final adoption of the budget for this upcoming school year. Doreen Concolino, our Chief Financial Officer, will walk us through the presentation, and then the board will take appropriate action. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Jacobs, school board members, and Superintendent Vasquez. Tonight I bring to you the 2024 final operating and capital budgets. With me is Judith Padre, Senior Director with the Office of Management and Budget, and she will present the capital portion of the presentation. Also with me is Beth Curran, Senior Director of Risk Management, and Ernest Jean-Baptiste, Director of the Office of Management and Budget. So here's our agenda for today's presentation. We will review the proposed millage, proposed budget, and ultimately you will need to adopt the total millage and then adopt the 2023-24 budget. When you're talking about millage rates, you're talking about property taxes, and property taxes impact both residential and commercial property. Who is responsible for each component that determines your property taxes? Just value, or a property's market value, comes from the property appraiser. The Save Our Homes cap is established by the legislature. The legislature also establishes exemptions, such as the homestead exemption, and they determine the millage rate, which is then approved by the board. Here are our property tax values used to help fund the upcoming school year. These dollars benefit both the operating and capital budgets. Last year, we had a 17.7% increase in taxable values. The current projection published in August by the Office of Economic and Demographic Research, estimates another significant escalation of 12.1% in 2023, and then fairly steady growth of around 5% per year over the next 5 years. The required local effort, or RLE, is a specific amount that we must levy to receive state funding. This is equalized statewide so that if our assessments go up, our state revenues go down. Discretionary millage is the maximum amount allowed by law. Because we levy the full amount, we receive $12.3 million in additional state dollars to get us up to the state average per student. The additional voted millage is the amount overwhelmingly approved by the voters last August of 2022 and will continue to provide much-needed operating funds in fiscal years 2024 through 2027. Capital projects millage is the maximum amount allowed by law to support the capital program and is now shared with charter schools. Overall, there is a rate reduction of 0.041 mils, or 0.63%. This reduction is because statewide taxable values increase compared to the state estimate approved by the legislature in the first FEFP calculation. This is the history of Orange County Public Schools millage rates. Required local effort, set by the state, is the red rate in the middle of each bar. You can see that the RLE has decreased by 2.252 mils since 2010. The legislature sets the millage rate school districts are required to levy. The rolled back rate is a calculation that eliminates the impact of increased valuation. It is only used in the advertisement of the budget and in the millage adoption language. The required local effort is 8.91% over the rolled back rate. The total millage is 9.62% over the rolled back rate. With Save Our Homes, residential property can only increase at 3% or CPI, Consumer Price Index, to December, whichever is less. CPI is 8%, and therefore 3% is the maximum increase for applicable assessed values. With the increase of 3% in assessed value and a decrease of the tax rate of 0.63%, the homeowner of a $319,500 home would pay an increase of $43 per year in taxes. Commercial property is not limited by Save Our Homes. When the increase in property values are combined with a 0.63 reduction in the millage rate, the change in taxes paid for the owner of a piece of commercial property valued at $1 million is an increase of $563 for the year, or about $47 per month. As you can see, the budget process is continuous year-round. Remember, the budget is a plan for the year. We must adopt a millage and approve a total amount for the budget. How the dollars are spent are not set in stone and can be amended throughout the year. The budget summary identifies items that affect the district budget. Board members continue to identify staff as a priority, and significant dollars have been appropriated for increases in compensation. The district continues its efforts to recruit and retain a high-performing and dedicated team, and competitive compensation supports this effort. This budget also includes increased dollars for safety and for mental health, which aligns with student resiliency. As a reminder, this budget includes funding for traditional schools, charter schools, and scholarships for students in private schools. With the passage of House Bill 1, the increase to family empowerment scholarship enrollment and the impact to traditional enrollment is unknown. Charter students and scholarship students combined are comprising a larger portion of the total budget. The temporary infusion of federal funding has impacted fund balance by allowing operating expenses directly related to the pandemic to be shifted to ESSER funding. The budget maintains focus on the district's strategic plan. Here is a summary, here is a summary of the 5 major funds that make up the operating budget. Each fund has unique types of revenues and appropriations designed to accomplish specific purposes. The primary difference between the tentative budget and this budget is the inclusion of carry-forward projects within the capital projects budget. In the tentative budget, capital projects were $2.4 billion and are now at $3 billion. Special revenue includes our food service program as well as other special revenue. The general fund is the operating budget of the school district. The primary source of funding comes from the Florida Education Finance Program, or FEFP. For fiscal year 2024, the FEFP has experienced an overhaul, including the collapse of 4 categorical funds now included in the base student allocation, or BSA. When accounting for this change in methodology, and when calculating a like comparison to the 4th calculation of the prior year, the BSA increased by $162 per student, or 3.25%. Per student funding is equalized statewide. Equalization means that increased revenue from local sources does not necessarily cause an overall increase in funding. For instance, an increase in required local effort revenues is offset by a reduction in state revenues. However, the additional voter millage is not equalized, which means we keep all revenues generated to benefit the students of OCPS. This slide shows the actual FTE for past years, along with the projection for this year. Our current projection for fiscal year 2024 is 220,465 FTE, an increase of 6,765 FTE over the 4th calculation of 213,701. This forecast incorporates all K-12 students, including charter school and scholarship students. However, it does not include VPK students. Based on projections from student enrollment, traditional schools are expected to grow by 1,867 FTE in 2024. Here is a breakdown of FTE by traditional, charter, and scholarship students, and highlights the steady increase in scholarship FTE as shown in the orange bars. 2018-19 is a benchmark year and only includes McKay students. The Family Empowerment Scholarship, or FES, was signed into law in May of 2019. An FES scholarship FTE was folded into district counts starting in the 2019-2020 year. Our traditional enrollment, as indicated in the lighter blue bars, and charter enrollment in the dark blue bars, are steadily increasing. This chart shows the comparison of per-student funding from the 2nd calculation since July of 2011. We use the 2nd calculation because that is the calculation in effect at the time of the adoption of the budget. For the upcoming year, there is a $391 increase in FEFP per student funding over the prior year's 2nd calculation. At the beginning of the Great Recession in 2008, state funding declined dramatically until the FEFP funding reached its lowest point in 2011. The Consumer Price Index, or CPI, is represented in the line above the funding bars, which signifies the inflationary impact year over year and demonstrates that funding has not returned to pre-recession levels. We illustrate an annual CPI from December to December. As shown, inflation has been modest, with the average CPI increase of less than 2% per year since the Great Recession, until 2022, when inflation rose to 4.7% and now currently hovering around 8%. When accounting for the additional voted millage shown in dark blue, the total per student increase is $473, or 5.2% over the previous year. Even with the additional millage and when accounting for CPI, the district has seen a significant reduction in purchasing power of $1,177 per student. Thank you again to the voters of Orange County for supporting the renewal of the additional voted millage. Here is a graph of the state general revenue in support of education. The total general revenue state budget increased $2.8 billion, which includes an increase in funding for education of $1.6 billion, or 8.6%. As seen in this chart, for fiscal year 2024, the percentage of general revenue going to education increased from 43% to 43.9%. The percentage remains well below the pre-lottery amount of over 60%, as well as below the funding level during the Great Recession. This graph shows you the percentage of general revenue going to support K-12 schools over the past 10 years. You can see the percentage of state general revenue supporting public schools has decreased this year. Although public schools receive the largest portion of education general revenue budget at 68.1%, for fiscal year 2024, universities have realized the largest increase in general revenue funding. In the early years of the Florida lottery, 60 to 70% of lottery dollars coming to education were for public schools, as seen in the green bars. That number is now only 43%. Of the 43% coming to public schools, none of these dollars would be considered educational enhancement. 89% supports the regular FEFP, and 11% is for the district's post-secondary program. The school recognition program, which could be considered educational enhancement, is not funded through the lottery in 2024. This year, the program is funded using general revenue non-FEFP dollars. The orange or rust-colored bar at the top, which represents 24% of lottery funds, is primarily funding the Bright Futures Scholarship Program. Here is a breakdown of our estimated revenues by source. There is little change in these percentages. The federal slice does not include ESSER funding, as this chart represents the general fund operating revenues. And the small federal portion is indicating that what we receive in Medicaid reimbursement and ROTC funding. As noted in the budget summary on an earlier slide, compensation is the board's #1 priority, and this budget includes funding for salary increases. An additional $3.1 million in Safe Schools funding is utilized to secure SROs for all of our schools and pursue other initiatives and strategies to ensure the safety of our students and staff. The district received $1.4 million in additional mental health assistance dollars that will be used for direct mental health services and resources for students. The last bullet comes directly from the additional voted millage ballot language. This past August 2022, an overwhelming 82.1% of Orange County voters approved the continuation of the 1 mil property tax for compensating teachers and support staff and preserving academic programs, arts, athletics, and student activities. The continuation of the special millage brings some stability to the operating budget for the coming 4 years. The special millage continues to be folded into the operating budget and accounts for 10% of recurring dollars to support our current level of operation. Other budget items to consider. The legislative budget includes another significant increase in FRS rates employers are required to contribute, which has increased our retirement costs by $21.6 million to all funds. Medical claims continue to rise, and we are exploring opportunities to reduce costs to keep our self-insured plan solvent. The delayed implementation of plan changes has not provided an opportunity to adjust for medical inflation. Using current claims, our actuary estimates a reserve deficit in 2024 of approximately $42.5 million. As noted on an earlier slide, the budget includes funding for traditional schools, charter schools, and scholarships for students in private schools. For fiscal year 2024, OCPS is estimated to have 14,982 scholarships going to private schools. District appropriations reflect scholarship costs of $108 million, offset by a $28 million state-funded discretionary supplement, totaling $136 million in family empowerment scholarships. ESSER funding will sunset in 2024. ESSER funds continue to support academic acceleration, provide instructional resources, and afford retention supplements and bonuses for our instructional and support staff. Functional appropriations remain fairly constant, with 75% of all appropriations in instruction and instructional support functions. The district continues to have the lowest administrative cost per student among large urban districts in the state, and the 7th lowest expenditure level of all 67 districts. While this is impressive, we will need to compare to see if we are too lean to meet continued demands in our district. This concludes the general fund portion of our budget presentation. And now Judith will present the capital projects budget.
And now the Capital Projects Fund. The total capital budget is $3.1 billion. Primary revenue sources are sales surtax, property tax, and impact fees. And as noted before, this budget includes minimal state support for capital. The primary uses are for comprehensive renovations, district-wide capital, and additional schools. This graph reflects our 5-year forecast of capital revenues. The light blue line for other state revenue shows the capital outlay and debt service, or CONDS, projected appropriation. The district anticipates to receive $8.2 million. In Burgundy, we have the state's PICO appropriation to charter schools. In fiscal year 24, the state is allocating $10.5 million of pass-through funds to charter schools to address their capital needs. The gold bar represents our sales tax revenue projections. For 24, an estimated $350.4 million is anticipated. This calculation is based on current collection trends, and it incorporates the Office of Economic and Demographic Research forecast. The sales tax program will sunset in December of 2025. The dark blue bar shows the impact fee projected collections. The $79.5 million projection is based on the average revenue collections of the last 3 years. The orange bar represents the revenues for the 1.5 capital mill funding source. This funding source is based on the district's property valuation. For 24, the district is anticipating to collect $326.9 million. Now on slide 33. This shows the recommended capital projects use of funds for fiscal year 24. Carry forward funds are incorporated into the budget. The largest portion of the budget is used for comprehensive needs at 35%. This covers schools in the original sales tax list, pre-2003 schools, and funding for schools that are being repurposed. This is followed by district-wide capital at 28%, which includes appropriations for district-wide construction, capacity enhancement, ancillary projects, capital renewal, site improvements, and major painting projects. The third largest recommended use of funding is for additional schools at 18%. The recommended capital plan reflects the following. Board members identified security enhancements as one of their main priorities. This proposed plan funds security enhancement projects at several schools. Funding for 14 relief schools, 9 elementary schools, 4 middle schools, and 1 high school. The opening year is based on recommendations from both the Advanced Planning Committee and the Capital Program Steering Committee. Capacity enhancement or functional equity. The recommended budget includes $92.6 million for projects that are primarily intended to add permanent instructional space and reduce some portable instructional spaces. It also allocates funding to a list of pre-2003 sales tax schools. These schools are earmarked for projects based on the needs as identified in the district's condition assessment. Funding is also included for repurposing projects at Gateway, STEAM Academy, and Cherokee School. And capital renewal, per the referendum, a portion of the sales tax revenues is transferred to the Capital Renewal Fund to cover major system replacement needs. This plan continues to fund that transfer. Slide 35. These are the recommended 5-year new school openings. There's 1 new middle school that opened last month. In August of 2024, this recommendation includes the opening of 1 elementary, 1 middle, and 1 high school. For August of 25, this proposed plan includes the opening of 2 new elementary schools. Subsequently, in 26 and 27, this recommendation includes funds to open 1 new elementary school per year. Now on slide 36. These are the comprehensive projects that are in construction. Winter Park High School, Lakeview Middle School, Howard Middle School, and 3 Points are moving into the construction phase this fiscal year. As you know, we have other projects that are on their second year of construction that are not shown on this slide. Comprehensive projects in design. Colonial High School, Ocoee High School, Chain of Lakes, Lone Childs, and North Lake Park will be entering into the design phase this fiscal year. Avalon, Camelot, Citrus, and Endeavor will all be entering a multi-site comprehensive renovation for which the design starts this fiscal year. On slide 38, the recommended CIP or capital improvement plan also includes funding for the following: sunshades for the youth lots at elementary schools, vape detectors, buses, white fleet replacement for vehicles primarily used by maintenance, grounds, safety and emergency management, and district police. Funding for portable moves and leasing, which is included to help manage population fluctuations. Charter school funding, which includes the funds that the state appropriated for charter maintenance, plus their share of the 1.5 capital mill, as required by House Bill 1259. There are also dollars included in the plan for digital technology replacement, which addresses replacement of devices, classroom technology, and digital curriculum-related infrastructure. This concludes the capital portion of our budget presentation.
The Debt Service Fund. This fund is used to retire the indebtedness the school district has incurred for construction projects. The primary source of funds is a transfer from the Capital Projects Fund. There were no significant changes in the Debt Service Fund. Special Revenue. The Special Revenue Fund includes the district's food service program and Special Revenue Other funds. The other funds are primarily school internal accounts and extended day programs. Other federal grants, such as ESSER, Title I, and IDEA, are amended into the budget as approved. The food service program is supported primarily by federal reimbursement, USDA commodities, and also from fees charged for meals served. For the 2024 school year, all meals at current schools will be provided to OCPS students at no charge, regardless of income level. This initiative is made possible through the Community Eligibility Provision, or CEP. CEP is an option for school districts operating child nutrition programs and is administered by the United States Department of Agriculture. Special Revenue Other are funds restricted or committed for specific purposes. School internal accounts are used to account for monies collected and dispersed by each school through fundraisers and other student-related extracurricular or co-curricular activities. Extended day programs are used to account for all monies collected and dispersed in support of the program. The extended day program's before and after school activity provides a safe and supportive environment for children. The main source of revenue is user fees. The Internal Service Fund. The Internal Service Fund accounts for the district's Employee Benefits Trust Fund, Property Casualty Loss Fund, and Printing Services Fund. The Employee Benefits Trust Fund revenue comes from board contributions for employee coverage and deductions for employee and dependent coverage. The expenditures of this fund include payments for medical claims, prescriptions, and mental health. The district has been able to take advantage of ESSER funding to reimburse the Employee Benefit Trust Fund for the cost of COVID-related medical claims and prescriptions. Effective this past October 1st, 2022, the district now offers 4 plan options, including the new SureFit plan, which is free for employee-only coverage. Currently, board contributions for employee-only coverage are $9,289. The Florida Office of Insurance Regulation requires the district to maintain a stabilization reserve equal to a minimum of 60 days of incurred claims. Since fiscal year 2020, the Florida Office of Insurance Regulation has required that the district transfer funds to the Employee Benefit Trust in order to meet this requirement and for our self-insured plan to remain solvent. Additionally, from 2021 through 2023, the district has been afforded the opportunity to utilize ESSER funds to reimburse the trust for COVID-related medical and prescription claims. Besides the revenue generated through board contributions, deductions for employee and dependent coverage, and retirees and COBRA participant premiums, this chart illustrates the additional funding either transferred in or reimbursed to the trust. Spanning fiscal years 2020 through 2023, transfers from the operating budget fund balance have totaled $67.2 million. Additionally, from 2021 through 2023, the district has utilized ESSER reimbursements to support the Employee Benefit Trust, totaling $33.7 million. Fund balance transfers and ESSER reimbursements combined total $100.9 million over 4 years. As noted earlier and indicated on this slide, our independent actuary estimates a reserve deficit in 2024 of approximately $42.5 million based on current claims and utilization. A deficit in 2024 will require another transfer from fund balance to satisfy the Florida Office of Insurance Regulation requirement. The insurance team continues to tirelessly explore ways to implement cost savings programs through Cigna and CVS, such as the recently implemented Surgery Plus and SureFit plans, and to promote the Motivate Me Wellness program that provides monetary incentives to members that follow through with annual physicals, health assessments, and wellness activities such as flu shots, mammograms, and other cancer screenings. The team is preparing the release of a request for a proposal to explore costs for an on-site or near-site health center. Along with these and other cost-saving measures, still an increase in recurring revenue to the Employee Benefits Trust is required to sustain our self-insured plan. The medical and prescription plans are scheduled to renew October 1st of 2024. The Property Casualty Loss Fund includes payments for property, liability, and workers' compensation claims. Revenues for this fund are from charges to other funds. The Printing Services Fund is self-supporting and receives revenues from charges for services to schools and departments. I will turn it back over to the superintendent for comments and discussion. Once discussion is complete, the total millage must be adopted, and subsequently, the 2023-2024 budget will need to be adopted. Superintendent Vasquez?
Thank you, Doreen, Judith, and your team for all of your diligence in putting together a balanced budget. Members of the board, as required by statute, I present to you a balanced budget for the 2023-24 school year. As mentioned, our budget remains fluid throughout the year as we make necessary amendments when required. I request your approval both of the millage and of your final budget. I know that we have had one-on-one meetings and tentative budget hearings and questions that were dealt with previously. We certainly are ready to answer any further questions you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Vasquez. Thank you so much for the presentation. Excellent job. I have a number of board members who have questions or comments, so let me begin with Member Gould.
Yes, thank you. There it is. Thank you for the presentation. Could you please bring up slide 21?
Mm-hmm. It's this one. There you go. Mm-hmm.
So I know you went through this. I know we put this on our web page too, because this is probably my most favorite chart for explaining
where we are with education costs. First, I do want to thank the governor and the legislature for the investment that they did make, because you can see that orange bar in the last 3 years has gone up. And that is great. We also know that we have been in double-digit inflation in many parts of Florida, and because of that, we did not really close the gap to the consumer price index, and I want to make that clear with everybody. But the revenues in the state have been higher than ever since I've lived here for 30 plus years. Could you go to the next slide, please, to 22, I think it is. I just want people to understand this, right? So our revenues are higher than ever before. We did get a bump, but we did not take the opportunity with the growth in our state to catch up the percentage of the general revenue going to education, which keeps us at the bottom of the investment pile across the United States. Let me repeat that. Keeps us at the bottom of the investment in education, which is the key to our economic development across the United States. Most other states on average invest 50% of their general revenues into education. So when we're in an economic strife, even with inflation, we have to be somewhat conservative. But the legislature and the governor heard loud and clear that this state wanted investment in education. We cannot take the pedal off the metal on this. We have to keep asking for that investment, because when we're trying to attract businesses here, not just people to come live here, but businesses, that education investment is vitally important. So I just wanted to re-highlight these two things, and thank you for this. Did I encapsulate it? Okay. So now let's go to 48, please. So while we were talking about those other dollars are really scheduled for the operating budget, remember, highest reserve in the state in history right now, more money coming in because of new residents and a lot of small businesses coming in. We have an increase in healthcare too, which we have not gotten any increase in support for this particular line item. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I wanted to verify that. We are looking at almost a doubling without the extra funds we got from COVID coming into this year. So our wonderful staffs, our teachers, our bus drivers, our cafeteria workers, our psychologists, everybody is getting squeezed on both ends, including us. I mean, we feel this same pinch, but it would be one thing if there were no dollars available and the state was in strife. I don't know how we do a better job of bringing this message collectively to the state, because it's a concern of business owners. I'm talking to them all the time about the investment in education, making sure we can get good internships. These costs are just crazy, and we have what we have, and we have to pass this budget, and we have to move forward, and we have to plan for these dire situations. But I just don't know how we raise the flag higher so we're seen. I just am at a loss. Sorry, that was no question. Sorry.
Thank you, Member Gould. Vice Chair Gallo.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. So staying on this same slide, because I was just adding the numbers up to Member Gould's point. So since 2020, we have put $100.9 million either from the general fund or the ESSER fund so that we don't fall below the required amount and lose our trust.
That's correct.
That's correct. So it's $100.9 million.
Correct.
Can you tell me what, we all know that healthcare has gone up. I mean, it's getting increasingly difficult for anyone to live in Orlando or really Florida at all, with the rising cost of living, the high cost of inflation, high cost of insurance, not just healthcare insurance, but homeowners insurance, car insurance. It's all gone up drastically. It's really is hard to live, work, and play in Florida. What contributes the most to the rise in cost in our insurance? What's the biggest contributor?
Medical inflation.
Medical inflation?
And prescriptions.
And prescriptions. So we have a lot of prescriptions that I understand have gone way up that are leading to this cause. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Cost of services. And I did hear from somebody that I think Orange County was the most expensive place for healthcare.
I would defer to Beth for that.
Yes, please. And then after this, I do have a question about the fund balance.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually several hospital studies. Number one is South Carolina, West Virginia, and Florida is number 3. And then within Florida, Orlando is the highest cost for inpatient services.
So Orlando is the highest cost for inpatient services.
Yeah. So it's a RAND study, and they have claims from all types of employer groups. And we participate as an OCPS employee. We provide our claims there as well.
Okay, thank you. And I know that we're doing everything that we can to try to lower these costs on a daily basis, correct? All right, I want to shift gears to the fund balance, because we're looking at these numbers and then we look at the fund balance and it looks like so can you just break some of these numbers down for me? I think we understand the assigned fund balance, but can you break down like what some of those categories that the assigned fund balance goes into, as well as what is made up of the unassigned contingency? I know that we have to keep 3%.
Correct.
So can you just talk about, once we figure all this out, what percentage are we actually keeping in the fund balance? Because when you look at these numbers, it looks like it's a rather large number, but that's not true.
Correct. So I'll start with the assigned fund balance, which appears to be $387 million. But let me point out a few obligations that we have that make up that $387 million. First of all, OPEB, our other post-employment benefits, we are required now to include that, set aside the dollars and include it on our financial statements. That is equivalent to $53.8 million. Disney, the Disney litigation, that right now we have set aside $85.7 million. 85.7, and I will tell you that is not the most extreme case. So right now we are setting aside what would be somewhere between what Disney is looking for and what the property appraiser is looking for. So we haven't gone excessively high there with that set aside.
And just one question: is that per year that we have to save that much money?
No, so it's about an extra 9 to 10 million per year, but we're trying to catch up. Exactly. When the tax collector came last year,
yes,
and made us aware of, as the numbers started to grow, made us aware of what our obligation was going to be. Additionally, as part of that $387 million, we have the $42.5 million you can see up on that slide that we know we're going to have to transfer this year into the trust so that we can have the required reserves. And then additionally, there's about $50 million set aside for
part of the salary proposal, part of that is being paid through non-recurring funds, and that is also set aside in the 387. Then we have school rollover dollars, we have instructional material dollars. All in all, that makes up $387 million. Then the unassigned, which is contingency, as you noted, the 3% is required, and that is about $59.8 million. Unassigned with no obligation, we ended 2023 with $50.5 million, which is somewhere around 2.1%. So if you take the 3% that were required and this non-allocated unassigned fund balance of 2.1%, we're about 5.1% of unassigned.
So just one follow-up, because I know I'm over time. So I know that you meet with your colleagues across the state that work for other school boards. What is, I know 3% is mandatory. What do most school districts hold in their fund balance under unassigned? Like what is the percentage that usually is recommended? What percentage would you recommend, so that if we had like a catastrophe tomorrow, that you would feel comfortable that we would be able to open up our schools and do what we need to do to make sure children were at school?
6%.
6%. Thank you.
6%.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Member Castrodano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to stay on the same slide, number 48. Just so that people who are in the audience or watching are clear with what these figures represent. The general fund transfer for 2024 of $42.5 million, that's taking money from our operations.
It's coming from our operations fund balance. Right. And the reason our fund balance, we've had ESSER dollars, which have allowed us to shift operating expenses to ESSER funding for the past 3 years, which has afforded us the opportunity to increase our fund balance a bit. But as I've just went through with Vice Chair Gallo, most of those dollars are obligated.
Okay, so those $42.5 million we're taking from our operations budget and putting it towards our healthcare budget.
That's exactly what we're doing.
And those dollars, that $42.5 million, is coming out of the same fund that we pay all of our employees.
That's
right?
Correct. Well, except for the small portion that are paid for through grant funds, but yes. Yes.
Okay, so, and the reason why we owe so much is the inflation in healthcare costs and
Correct.
prescriptions.
Correct. But we have an increased revenue coming into the Employee Benefit Trust. However, our claims, our expenses have continued to increase, but our revenue has not increased.
Okay. I know that we're doing some things to address our employee health. I know there's different screenings that we're trying to advertise so that our employees are as healthy as can be. I want to make sure that all of our employees know that is good for them individually.
And keeps healthcare costs down.
And keeps our healthcare costs lower. So I know that we're trying to be aggressive in making sure that we are doing the best to stay healthy. So I hope that we can get around this. And then real quick, back to slide 22. When we're looking at the percent of investment from the state, when I was in the legislature, right there, 23 and 24. When I was in the legislature, I learned that you don't just wait for people to make a decision about how much money they're going to give you. There are a lot of people at the table with their hands out. There's a lot of need across the state, and we have to advocate broadly for this increase in our funding. We need everyone to either go there to Tallahassee or communicate with your legislators here. But let them know we need more money. So when our teachers are not getting paid enough and our bus drivers, you can see where the shortfall is coming from. And the demands at the high end and the low end, we're not getting enough and we have extreme costs. So our employees are the ones who are getting hurt. But we need everybody, citizens, parents, teachers, to help advocate for increased funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Castro-Dental. Member Byrd.
Thank you, Chair. My Member Gallo asked my question about the fund balance. I wanted to just go back to what you just said a minute ago. We haven't increased revenue in the health
Trust.
Trust. You're saying we haven't increased premiums? Is that
Correct.
what you're saying? How long has that been since we've had increases?
3-4 years? 3 years.
Okay. So since the 2020, that's what we see on that last slide, 48.
I believe it was 2020, 2021. Yes.
Yeah, because we had ESSER to help subsidize.
Yes, we were fortunate. And ESSER, just want to reiterate, ESSER funding goes away in 2024. So,
So that's
any
where
of
we're
those
getting
expenses that we were able to shift to ESSER funding, not only here to offset the COVID-related claims, but any other operating expenses, we won't be able to shift them any longer. All of that is coming back into the general fund.
Okay. Okay. I want to go back real quick to the Disney litigation. Just so we are clear, for people that may not know, that was nothing that we did wrong.
Correct.
Because the way it was, it was said that the tax collector came to us and said, this is
No,
correction.
so
It
I'm
was
sorry.
nothing. No, I just want to be clear.
If
so
I
no one
conveyed
thinks
that,
we did
I didn't mean
something.
to. So Disney is in litigation with the property appraiser over the assessment methodology of all of Disney's properties. Orange County Public Schools is the largest recipient of the tax dollars that Disney pays. And so Disney is trying to have their assessment reduced, and in turn that will reduce our revenue. But we will have to pay back for the years up to, and as a matter of fact, I can even give you that, 2015 through now.
And that's where the 85 million you're estimating, and that you said that's just a middle of the road.
Correct.
All right. Okay. All right. I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Byrd. Member Ferrant.
Thank you, and thank you for an awesome presentation. Although I do feel like if anybody doesn't know all the acronyms and all the stuff, it is kind of confusing. But I am very thankful you guys took the time. As far as the insurance and such like that, I do feel like all of that has been asked. I feel like I understand all of that part. Really, the last thing, because everything's kind of been touched on, the recommendations, it's page 38, and it was other recommended appropriations. I'd love to see if we can discuss, because this is just, if I'm understanding this correctly, this is just, hey, our school buses, for instance, need to be replaced. This is how much we think we would need to replace them, correct?
Sure, and these are capital dollars. These are not the operating fund dollars.
Okay.
These are the capital dollars that speak to Judith's presentation.
Got it. And so that's more on that part. Okay, because those were just that one and the portable moves and leases. I just feel like the public's going to read this, and especially with portables, 48 million on that seems like a lot. If there's a way later we can discuss ways that we can reduce that number, and then even with the school bus replacement, if there's a way to even discuss maybe different vehicles that we could use, that maybe we could get different bus drivers that don't need that. I don't know. That's just a thought. So I'm getting some crazy looks, so maybe I'm off my rocker. But just some thoughts that I had. And then, no, I think that was it. The biggest thing I think is the insurance and trying to figure all of that out. But I do agree with my colleagues that we do need to advocate at the state level to see how we can get a bit more funding to help. But thank you.
Thank you. Member Salamanca.
Thank you, Chair. I'd be curious, and this is kind of a very specific question on how we calculate CPI, and I like the numbers that we use, because when I look at that graph, we're behind at page 21. I think something we know as a district, and folks, if you're a teacher or a parent, know this very deeply, is that I think the national inflation rate right now is 4 to 5% on any given state, but Florida's closer to 9%. And as we saw in the revenue numbers, we as a state are getting more revenue than like most states are right now, because we're having so many folks moving in. But we're not getting revenue into education as a percentage of kind of how much of that money is coming into the state. And so it's troublesome to think that when our state is doing its best economically, education is not a priority. And I think that's definitely an issue with Tallahassee, and something that we all have to continue fighting for. But when I look at this graph, I would just be curious. I know we're using the CPI of probably the national one here. Do we ever run it against state as well? Or is this very specific? Like how, like the number?
State.
It is state? Okay. Got it. Okay, that's great. That was my question, because I just want to make sure we're capturing the right one. Because the CPI for the country versus the state is very different.
Yes.
I'm sure we would look very different otherwise. Okay, so that was one of my questions. The other one is just on the $42 million gap that we have, right? So just to double tap on that, we've been doing a lot of moving of money around because of ESSER funds. And I think when we were talking about the budget, there was like a percentage that, we've been paying kind of upfront and committing money, knowing that some of this is going to go away. And one of the things that I worry about, and always, one of the reasons why I ran was I was looking at this kind of gap in the budget when ESSER funding would go away. And I guess, like, from the operational fund perspective, like, what does it look like if, if we say, look, we're not going to touch healthcare, we're going to do this $42 million, it's going to come out of the operations budget. What does that look like for a district? Like, where does it come from? Like, if we were to say, we're not going to change healthcare, we're just going to take the 42. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just curious on what's the impact.
It would have to come out of the operating budget, and the operating budget is squeezed right now. Aside from salary increases, which are obviously a board priority, the operating costs of the district, the retirement rate that employers have to pay continues to go up, but yet we don't get additional dollars. The cost of instructional materials, these are adoptions that we're required to have, and we're talking $30 million for one cycle. We get an appropriation of somewhere around $16 or $17 million. So all of those things have to come out of the cost of substitutes, of contracted services, of anything we buy, paper, cleaning supplies. It's going up for us as much as it is for anybody in their own budgets.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, because I think we've been talking about this as a board, obviously, at 2024 and what we're walking into if we don't make some tough decisions. But the decisions, if we don't make this tough decision, is even worse, like the kinds of cuts long term.
And one other thing that we have to understand is that moving into 2025, the board, although we're looking to increase premiums, the board is also putting in a significant amount of money. We're going to increase our recurring costs by $25 to $27 million. Currently, we pay $9,289 per employee, and that's going up to $10,555. And to the operating budget, that's going to be somewhere between $25 and $27 million. So we're squeezing that belt, and that is another recurring cost that we're going to have to absorb in 2025.
Got it. Yeah, because I think that's something I really want folks to just understand what happens with that $42 million gap, because it's not like it just comes from general fund and we're okay. It just means we have to make really steep cuts elsewhere to make up for that. And we already are, like you said, increasing $26 million of fixed costs in addition to everything else.
Correct.
Thank you, Doreen.
Thank you, Member Salamanca. Let me go back to Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a quick question. How much did our scholarships go up by this year? Like by how many dollars did it increase from this year to last year? From last year to this year, sorry.
Last year we ended at, so what we budgeted last year is different from where we ended. We budgeted at 112 million, and I want to say we ended at somewhere around, Judith's looking for that right now, somewhere around 108 million, I believe, is where we ended. So this year now, it's $136 million. But we have, because the districts are no longer enrolling the scholarship students, and we have reached out repeatedly to the school choice office, Greg's team as well. My team, Ernest, has tried repeatedly. We don't know right now what our scholarship enrollment is through Orange County.
If it increased this year from last year.
Correct. Well, last year we ended around 10 plus thousand scholarship students. We're projecting 14,900, I believe, was the number.
So just, I mean, it's gone up every year. So
correct.
That's just a slight.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's just a flow through dollars. Again, that's money that we have to, it looks like it's in our budget, but it's not, because it's just kind of, we never touch that money. We never see that money. That money never comes through us.
Correct.
But it's still included in the FEFP.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Vasquez? No? Sorry.
It's about. So I wanted to.
You are now. You are now.
Thank you. I wanted to just clarify for Board Member Salamanca, because I gave you the look because I was trying to get a response. So we are required by state statute to transport students in a bus, school bus. There's a few exceptions, ESC students and our students who are McKinney-Vento. And we are and have been outsourcing that for the last couple of years. We do train our bus drivers for free, and they can take the test and work for us, but we have to use school buses to transport them.
All right. Member Byrd.
I just had a thought, another tactic that maybe we could use, and what made me think of it was when you talked about the textbook adoption. that we're required to adopt these textbooks, and you said like one of them was a $30 million adoption, and we had a line item for like 16, you said, or yeah. So it's an underfunded mandate. Transportation is the same way.
Correct.
We're only funded at about 60% of our transportation costs. Correct. So I'm wondering if maybe we could go through and find all the list all the mandates that we are required to do, but are not given enough money from the state to do, and make a list of those, and maybe add those to. We wouldn't have enough paper. She says we wouldn't have enough paper. And add that to our list, our other graphs that we think. I think that the general public has no idea. Has no idea how underfunded education is. And I think that one graph that shows the percentage of the budget that's going to education and how low it is these past couple years. Mm-hmm. Considering how expensive everything has gotten, I mean, just in our capital costs, Rory said in one of our meeting that in elementary school, went from like 25 million to 35 million, or I'm off on the number. What was it? It's more than that. It's actually more than that, and it was just in like 2 years. So those are all costs that we're absorbing, but our money is going down. Like we're not, it's just, I don't know. I think that is such valuable information to share. And I think getting the public involved is the way we have to do it, because they listen to the voters. We can go up there all we want during legislative weeks like we do, and we can sit with them in their offices and we can say it. School board members can preach it up and down, but it's the voters that show up and argue, just like they did about that Bright Futures when they were trying to make the change to Bright Future scholarships, and parents went up there screaming and they stopped it. So I think the only way we ever make a difference in this is to get parents out to show, look, this is what they're dealing with. That's it. Thanks.
Great points, Member Byrd. Member Castor-Dental.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To follow up on what Member Byrd was saying, not only do we need the support of parents, but also the business community, because they respond to them for obvious reasons. But it is important that we communicate with our local chamber and get them on board as well, because they have a large voice in Tallahassee, and they have a shared mission. If they want their businesses to grow, they need a strong educational foundation. I always made that argument, and it was received, but we need to continue to make that argument. I just wanted to follow up on another point that Member Gallo made about the funding for our the students who get the private school vouchers. That money doesn't just flow through our schools. A lot of that money now can go to the private schools for students that have already been going to private schools.
Correct.
So we're not adding necessarily more students to the rolls, more students in our public schools, but a lot of them are already in private schools, and now they're taking our public school dollars to pay their tuition, which they could pay previously. So there is disinvestment in our public schools in many areas. And I just wanted to make sure that fact was out there as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Castor-Dental. To follow up on that point, there is also only so much capacity in our private schools. And when the state provides funding for students to go to a private school, what that means is you look at supply and demand. What happens when there's not enough supply and there's more demand, because you've got these extra dollars coming from the state, means that the cost of private schools will probably go up. So where we're going to see those tax dollars go is to raise the cost of private schools and make more money for private schools. Not that I have anything against private schools or people that send their children to private schools. I just don't find that it's a good use of public funds. And especially when you think of education as the great equalizer, I think it's really important that there be equality in our schools. So you all have brought up a lot of really good points. Your suggestion about unfunded mandates, just transportation alone, is huge. I would love for us to do that calculation, and then I'd like to convert that to what that would equate to in terms of raises. If we had all of those funded, how much more money would we be able to give our employees in terms of salaries? Because we are at a point where not only are we at a crisis point with our own employees, especially our teachers, bus drivers, we have a huge shortage because there's so much competition. Teachers are feeling the financial crunch. They are overwhelmed, under-respected, and underpaid. And at the same time, understandably, we have less people entering the College of Education. And so we don't just have a crisis potential. I think we have a very real crisis just around the corner. And I don't know what it's going, I fear that it's going to take reaching that crisis level before we will see the kind of funding commitment necessary. And yet at the same time, that's going to be too late because that pipeline of students, they have to be entering the pipeline. They don't just get out of high school and they're not ready to be teachers. I mean, the idea of our veterans and our law enforcement, those people are wonderful people, and I'm so thrilled to have them in our schools as long as they've gotten the education and the certification and they're actually prepared to do the job. But it's not an easy job. It's a highly skilled profession, and it takes time to earn that degree and that certification, and it frightens me. The other thing that frightens me a bit is, as we are talking about our parents, our teachers, our PTA, all of them statewide need to be working together, because in fairness to our own local delegation, most of the members of our delegation, when people write to me and say, what can I do? And the natural answer is reach out to your state representative or senator. And most of ours are fighting as hard as we are fighting. They're on the right side of this issue. And I'm sorry to say there's a right side and wrong side, but I believe that so deeply, because I say this all the time. In 2000, when I first started paying attention to these numbers, our graduation rate was just under 50%. Just under 50%. To the audience. What in the world happened to the other 50%? That's what I want to know. Because without a high school diploma, it is very, very difficult to get a job. High school even is hard to get a job. And, our CTE programs help fill that gap. But if we go back to those days, if we don't have enough teachers in the classroom to teach our kids, we are going to have kids that aren't graduating. And kids that aren't graduating are not going to have a chance of supporting a family. It's just not going to happen. And guess what? If you can't support a family but you're living here, you're going to find a way to survive. But it's not going to be a good way to survive. It's not just about the business community. It's about our people. It's about our children. It's about our community's children. They need to grow up, and they need to get out of high school educated and smart and prepared to take on life and to be successful. And none of that happens without teachers. It just doesn't. Law enforcement is crucially important to maintaining peace in our communities, but law enforcement without a well-educated population cannot do it alone. So anyway, it's so crucially important, and I feel like we are right there at that verge of a crisis. And somehow we need, I know CTA I know you guys are statewide. It's not just a local effort, and I know how committed they are. I think to Member Gallo, who's been so involved at the state level at the PTA, that they need to be just sounding the alarm. Yeah. And I'm sorry, everything isn't about money, but this comes down to money. Most of these problems can be solved with a greater commitment. And if you compare our state to other states, there's no denying we have room to grow, a long way to go, and we're able to do it. So anyway, thank you all for all of your great questions. Member Felder, your turn, and I'm sorry for speaking mine.
Thank you. I just simply sort of want to echo quickly some of the things that you can't hear me, I'm sorry.
It's on now.
Okay, thank you. Some of the wonderful points that my fellow board members brought up, but what struck me was that people are listening, and sometimes they may get caught in the minutia of all of this professional language that we use to talk about we need money, and we're not being treated fairly. I'm just wondering, Superintendent, if I don't want to give anybody any extra work, but we really need to sound the alarm in a way, because we were voted in this position because people believed us to be advocates for them, and we're doing the best that we can. But I think the general public needs to really understand the fact when you put out the numbers that the national average is like 45%, and then we're at 9%, but inflation is hitting us harder because we're not keeping up with the people coming in, and we're getting a decrease in salaries. Some kind of way that we can put this together in layman's terms so that people understand, and we go back to our districts, members of our constituency, and tell them, go to Tallahassee. They need to cry loud, because this is insane. It's like we're like the Gerber on the little merry-go-round, just running around. And then the carrot, he'll never get the carrot, because every time he runs around, they move the carrot further out. So he'll never get it. So I'm grateful that you all have done such a wonderful job. I'm a visual learner and a visual teacher. I mean, I wish people could just really see how you really strategically put the figures up and the colors to make us understand what's going on. But it's still, a lot of people really don't understand. They just, they don't understand what's really happening. And in light of what one of the board members said, that when the business people, I think when they went to Tallahassee, things changed. When the right people go there and say, look, the parents with the Florida Bright Futures, they changed that number. I mean, they changed their thought. So I'm hoping that with all of what has been said and shared, that the people who are listening and those of you that are sitting out here in the audience, you understand that we are in dire straits. This is a call to action like you've never had before, because people are going to keep coming. How many people you said come to Florida? Board Member Gould, 1,500 families move. This is a call to action. And all these schools we got to build, and not having enough money to do the building. So I just wanted to say that, to conclude with what you all have all been saying. But if we could at some point do our best to put this in terms when we have our town meetings, to explain to our members of our constituency, this is what we're dealing with, y'all, and this is what we need y'all to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Felder. Member Castrodano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This conversation occurs almost every year that I've been on the board, and I think it's important to recognize that this issue has been around for 25 years in Florida as a purposeful disinvestment in our public schools. It has, starting with the school choice movement, in an effort to take our public dollars and convert them to private funds. you can research that. I'm not just making that up. There's lots of evidence. It's not even hidden anymore what the end game is. And we've been fighting this for a long time, and we're seeing it kind of come to its fruition now. And when I was teaching in the classroom for 15 years, and that seeing what was happening as a teacher, from a teacher's perspective, that's what encouraged me to run for the State House. And when I was there, I got to see firsthand how the deck is stacked against public schools. And there are big players in Florida and the country who are also doing this to our schools. It is not an easy lift. It is not just a matter of citizens talking to their legislators, but really being informed of who the, not the enemy, but the forces, I mean, I might call them an enemy, but the forces that are out there that we're up against. And it's vast. I mean, there's a lot of money at stake, and that's what it all comes down to. Public education is expensive, and to do it well, it costs more. And we're seeing how tight they can make it, and yet our teachers come to work every day, and they make it work. But I don't know if they make it work at their own expense, but now it's at their family's expense. And they're not going to make that sacrifice anymore. They won't be able to. They can't afford to live here. They can't afford to pay their bills. And now we're at a breaking point. We can't just replace our teachers. They're not there to be replaced. And I just don't know what's going to happen when we see this next year and then the next year, when we can't keep up with what teachers need for salaries and our professional employees. It is already hurting our students. I talk to parents who are like, my kid doesn't have a math teacher. Where's the algebra teacher? You can't graduate without algebra. These are really affecting our students, and it's almost like the powers that are working against us don't care. Like, that's the purpose, which I can't fathom, but the only real solution is for the people to rise up. You have to fight back. It's like this has happened for so long. Every year they do a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, until people don't even notice. And it's really, we're at a breaking point. And I hope that it's not too late. The damage has been done. We see it. And I don't know how we get back. I don't know how we improve. When we might be able to hold steady, but I don't see how we come back from this without drastic change. And that's in the legislature, in people who make these decisions, people who hold the purse strings. And that's just reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Casterden. Member Gould.
So I'm going to bring this in for a landing, but I want to bring it back to business. So the first time I ran for office, and really every year since then, I have people say, run the school system like a business. Well, businesses that are highly successful and around for a long time invest in training and onboarding. We are training and onboarding our next generation of leaders, citizens, employees, entrepreneurs, and we've squeezed it probably as efficiently as we can in the state of Florida. And some things have been good. When education did go through some reforms and we saw graduation rates go up, especially in Orange County, we saw crime come down dramatically. From 1995, violent crime was 1,071 per 100,000 people to 2018 to 385. That is an outcome of engaged young people. That is an outcome of it. But we are not adapting to what the marketplace needs now. And the marketplace needs now is for us to invest in onboarding our little people to become great big people as they walk across that stage and get their diploma and walk out into the workforce or go to the next phase of their training to walk out into the workforce. Because at the end of the day, that's where we're going. That's why we're selling workforce proclamations today. We're celebrating that. But that's what it's about. So I just wanted to point out, when we do the right things and sometimes invest a little here and get a little organized and do it collectively, we have big impacts. And we are far apart right now with market and where we need to be investing in education.
Thank you, Member Gould. At this point, I'm going to ask Member Gallo, Vice Chair, if you would read the resolution for the board's adoption of the millage.
I would love to. Thank you, Chair. Let me put my glasses on. Whereas Section 200.065 Florida statute requires that the school board adopt a total millage to support the final budget and notify the property appraiser of its action, and whereas the 2023-24 final budget is based upon total millage of 6.421 mils, which is more than the rollback rate by 9.62% as computed pursuant to Section 200.065 Florida statute. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the School Board of Orange County, Florida, that the board does hereby adopt the following total millage to support the final budget for the 2023-2024 fiscal school year. Millage type, required local effort, 3.73.
No, 3.173.
3, thank you. I said that I'd get correct at least once. Required local effort, 3.173. Basic discretionary, 0.748. Additional voted, 1. Capital improvement, 1.5. Total, 6.421. Be it further resolved that the superintendent immediately inform the Orange County property appraiser of the action of the school board in the manner prescribed by law.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Do we have a motion to adopt the resolution? Motion by Member Castrodeno, second by Member Byrd. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, we'll move on to the requested approval of the adoption of the final budget. And Vice Chair, would you read the resolution?
1, approve the 2023-2024 budget for the general fund, $2,723,984,930. 2, approve the 2023-2024. Did I say it wrong?
It was like 100 in there.
Oh, jeez. I practiced, I promise.
Go ahead.
$2,723,784,930.
No, it's still not right.
I have 984,930. Oh, thank you. Okay. It is a very, it's $2,723,984,930.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm so going to get fired from this job.
It's hard.
I know. Approve the 2023-2024 budget for the Special Revenue Fund, $325,285,696. 3, approve the 2023-2024 budget for the debt service fund, $242,796,524. 4, approve the 2023-2024 budget for the capital projects fund, $3,097,205,514. Nailed it. Approve the 2023-2024 budget for the internal service fund, $359,479,829.
Wonderful. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Motion by Member Gould, seconded by Member Ferrant. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Just a little anecdote. I think that's the right term. So I think most of y'all know I was in the circus in college. Yes, and every now and then I would miss a trick. And there's that feeling when you miss a trick that you're like really disappointed, okay? What? I was in the circus? Okay. Yeah. But it's not something, I didn't lead with this when I first got into office, like my first campaign. I kind of kept that hush-hush, but I figure at this point, you guys are stuck with me. So anyway, every now and then I would miss a trick, and you feel really bad you missed a trick. But what I learned was if I got back up and I caught the trick the next time, oh my gosh, people were so much more excited than they would have been if I'd have just caught it in the first place. So I want to tell you, in all the years, not just here, but county government, in all the years I've heard the budget resolution, the millage resolution read, I've never seen so much enthusiasm as we all felt when you nailed it. Yes. So there you go.
I appreciate it. I still am hoping that there's some video around of you on the trapeze that we could
Yes. Were you on the trapeze?
Yeah, well, most of it was pre-video day, honestly. I thought you were going to say video around of you messing that up. We have video of that.
I can
Okay.
watch that tonight.
All right. Should we have, yeah, there are pictures. There are pictures. Okay. Non-agenda public comment. How many speakers do we have?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. We have 7 blue cards.
Okay, perfect. We are going to move on to that portion of our meeting. And a couple of points I need to make as we head into this for anybody who might be new. There's some guidelines I'm going to ask that you respectfully adhere to.
Point of order,
First,
Madam Chair.
Yes?
I believe we need to approve the consent agenda first.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Vice Chair to approve the consent agenda. Second by Member Castor-Dental. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye. Any
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, back to the guidelines. We ask that you comply with our Code of Civility, which means, in one, that you not name specific individuals or specific positions. 2, that public comment on matters that are subject to any quasi-judicial process or pending litigation not be presented at this time. 3rd, any public comments on the bargaining process, workforce labor concerns, not permitted in this forum, but we do have an ongoing bargaining process. 4th, prospective and current vendors are not permitted to provide public comment during the bidding blackout period. And one other comment I do want to make, this is an opportunity for the public to give comments, testimony, input to the board. It's not a question and answer period. It's not a time to engage the board in debate. Board members may respond to comments that are made. As a general rule, they usually don't in the interest of time, but they are certainly permitted to, but generally they don't. With that, I think we can move on. Let's take our first speaker.
Your first speaker is Stefana Farrell.
Hi, I'm Micah Gant. I'm the math coordinator for Boone High School, over the custodial services. I've worked for Boone High School for 16 years. We're here to serve and get the job done. We also have fun while we're doing the job. I love my family here. This is my second family outside of my own. Very good positive attitude, good love, good sportsmanship. So it's a good place to be. from top to bottom. The ladies come in while the guys taking the furniture out, they do the dusting. When they finish, the guys go back and we start scrubbing the room, getting the room ready for the fun to be returned back inside. Treat people with respect. If you want respect, you got to give respect to all the. So after this, we're going to the gym to start scrubbing and waxing the gym. It's a good feeling to know that we take care of the kids and the teachers and the parents, our principals and our AP. So it's important to me to make sure they look good as well for the community. My dad had been in for so long, and I asked him about the position, and he told me to apply, and I did, and got a call, and I've been here ever since. I want to make sure I make him proud, like he on retirement.
So today we surprised the teachers and staff at Oak Ridge High School with what we're calling back to school dream boxes.
3, 2, 1.
We partnered with A Souls for Souls and A Gift for Teaching, and we selected 5 local Orlando high schools to benefit from these dream boxes.
It's important for our teachers and staff to feel appreciated, and I think today went above and beyond that expectation or that goal.
Thank you, teachers. Thank you so much.
At the Coach Foundation, we have a mission called Dream It Real that is around creating opportunities and removing barriers for the next generation of young people who have the courage to dream it real. And we know that the next generation's dreams wouldn't be possible without the support that they get from their educators.
It is not a secret that sometimes teachers and educators are a little undervalued. So feeling like the community is realizing that we are important. So it is fantastic to see that they're actually going out there and they're doing their best so we can feel appreciated and have reasons to keep going and keep doing what we do.
We hope this brightens your day a little bit and gets you off to an amazing school year. So thank you for everything you do. These young people could never achieve their dreams if it wasn't for you.
Riverdale Elementary School, welcome home. 10 months ago this all happened. Can you believe it? 10 months ago. And those 10 months were everything wrapped up into one, okay? They were hard. They were amazing.
Good morning, welcome.
They were bountiful as far as what it produced in our students and teachers.
So nice to see everybody. Hi.
It helped us create new friends that we didn't have before. All these things wrapped up into one thing, and what it reminds me, everybody here, that when bad things happen, and they always happen, good people come together and we make it work, and then good things happen.
3, 2, 1. Look how beautiful it looks. So awesome.
I can't wait until these students and these parents walk through those doors and just so they enjoy what I did or what we just saw. And it's going to bring so much joy to my heart.
Today was just, it was something we're looking forward to, you know, something we're anticipating, wanting for so long.
Are you happy home?
Words can't express.
I know.
And we knew this day was going to come. So that's kind of kept us hopeful, and when things were a little testy here and there, and people, you know, and it was just rough, we said, it's coming, we're moving home, don't worry.
When you can stand back and watch the smiles on their faces as they're carrying their boxes in and unpacking their boxes. I just walked over to a couple classrooms and the teachers are so grateful and so thankful. That's why we do what we do. That's why we work for the district. I mean, to make sure that the students can be in their seats the first day of school and be happy and safe in a clean environment. It's really nothing more important than that to us in facilities.
This is the biggest small district in the nation. And when I say that, and I say it a lot to people when we're talking, is that it's all made up, yeah, there's a lot of us, but it's all made up of people who know each other and have worked together in different capacities over the years. And so when something like this happens, you know, everybody has an educator heart. They just want to help. They just want to reach out and make sure you're okay. And that's what people did.
Hi, my name is Pamela Johnson. I've been a school bus driver with Orange County Public School almost 30 years. We're gonna check the bus. We check in all the seat belts and everything. Make for sure they're correct.
What is your main objective every day here?
Safety. Make for sure I get the kids to and from school safe because the parents put them in my hands. I'm their mom now. Dash gauges, I check. Lighting indicators, I check. Fuel gauge, windshield wipers, heaters, steering, two-way radio. Horn works. Radio is on, tablet is on. Okay, we're gonna start driving. We're leaving the compound. My day starts at normally between 4:30 in the morning, and it ends like 6:30 in the evening. I have a break in between that normally starts about 10 to 1 o'clock. My morning run consists of all ESC kids. All my stops are door to door. Normally through the school year, I'll have like 20, 23 stops. Good morning, Deshelle. Deshelle, good morning. Good morning, Miss Pam. You gonna say good morning? Say good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Patricia. Say cheese.
Who's that?
Miss Pam.
And is she your favorite?
Favorites? You never know what the kid has been through that night before. So just the kindness and caring. Sometimes a child that's having a bad day, you make them have a good day just knowing that you care. I tell some of my kids, or I tell all my kids, have a good day. But this is our future. These are the ones that's gonna be running things. So you just never know. So you should never put a child down or anyone down. Bye, sweetie. See y'all later. Have a good day.
March is Arts in Our Schools Month in Orange County, but in some ways, every month means Arts in Our Schools in Orange County.
So Arts in Our Schools Month is a way to celebrate all the amazing arts education opportunities that happen throughout our district every day to over 145,000 students.
The district has a reputation for delivering quality art and students in the arts. As part of that, a Lakeview middle schooler just won the district's Art in the Capitol project, meaning her artwork is now on display at the state capitol. But for her, the real beauty is what her art has given her.
Art helps me also in real life too, like in classes, to be more patient and to keep going, not to give up on something, like the process to keep moving forward.
On any given day in the district, there are multiple artistic events, from theater shows to gallery exhibits, all accessible for you to see through the district's visual and performing arts calendar. Part of the reason the district has such an emphasis on arts is that for students, artistic expression can be, well, peaceful.
It comforts me, it makes me more calm. It's like a stress relieving, and yeah, I feel like I just really like art.
The other perk is that in Central Florida, the arts can also mean a job.
So we know that arts education in the schools provides students with the opportunity to be competitive in a very robust arts and entertainment industry that's right here in Central Florida and across the country.
So while we're wrapping up March, the official designation of Arts in Our Schools, the real recognition happens every day, all year long, in classrooms across the district.
I mean, it's amazing what our kids do, and that's because they have incredible teachers that guide them through that process of learning about arts education. It's also because we start them in kindergarten. So our students are excelling because they have the arts education all the way from kindergarten all the way until they graduate available to them. And that's why our kids do such an incredible job here in Central Florida and beyond.
This is the STEM Spark event at the Rosen Plaza, where 130 students from Edgewater, Evans, and Dr. Phillips got to see where a STEM career can lead.
We are here to inspire and excite students about STEM careers, give them an opportunity to engage and interact with local professionals in the STEM area.
And students got to meet a who's who of big-name companies all putting STEM degrees to use. Disney engineers, First Robotics, EA Sports, and others, all here to inspire the next generation.
Meeting new people and getting firsthand opinions and experience from people who actually work in the field has been helpful and give me advice on what exactly it would look like, what I would be doing if I were to get into this field.
But this is more than just coding or engineering. There is a bigger lesson being taught.
To come here and see Disney employees who are females or who are minorities, and again, they're the ones presenting and they belong in the room. They're able to hear their journey.
And for Edgewater freshman Venus Mejia, that is a different kind of spark.
For me, it means there's more hope for other women and let alone minorities like me. I'm Hispanic. I've heard there's some numbers out there. There's very few of us out there. To give hope to another Hispanic or Black woman as I would be very lovely.
The clothes you wear can make a difference in your mood.
That smile says it all right there.
I like it.
Whether it's your everyday style or that perfect prom dress, everyone deserves to feel that confidence. And that's exactly what the team at the MAO outlets are doing.
It's what it's all about. You know, giving kids that confidence and, making them feel good about who they are.
Giving OCPS students and staff a place to get clothes and other essential items.
So the MAO outlet is an on-campus shop where students can borrow, buy, or trade or volunteer their time in exchange for items in the store.
The sustainable idea was created by a student and came to life last spring. The outlet at the Colonial High School location was so successful that they've already opened another one at Glenridge Middle School.
You know, this is a way for all students to support their peers, then support their school, and sustain something on their own.
Students quickly see the positive impact and want to pay it forward by volunteering.
I've gotten both my junior and senior prom dress here. It was amazing because it made me feel really, really pretty. I've never really been confident about myself at all. I would like to be able to help other people and other girls be able to feel what I felt in their prom dresses.
Local businesses are also jumping on board to help.
We have one donation bin at our central location. We are trying to get another one for our Ocoee location.
So at the end of the day, everyone is coming together.
Yes, enjoy.
To make people feel confident.
How do you feel?
One piece of clothing at a time.
It's just awesome to feel something that sometimes maybe you don't feel a lot, and just to have other people make you feel that way it has no price.
Taylor McGowan is a school-based social worker. That's her title, but her job, her passion, is offering students a place to be safe.
It's okay, there's always next week too.
And to be heard.
You're welcome, and the week after that.
My office serves as a cool-down spot, and it's also a place for kids to get direct services. So if they need counseling or they have some sort of crisis or they're just needing a check-in, my room is this place to go.
McGowan is at Wekiva High School 5 days a week, offering counseling, listening, teaching students the tools to cope or overcome the hurdles in their lives. Students can ask for a pass to come and see her, just like they would the school nurse.
Mental health is paramount, and these kids are struggling. I mean, I think in general, humans, all of us are struggling, but there is a need to have a mental health professional in every school because we have a lens that your typical school employee does not have.
It can take a lot of work to get teenagers to open up, and in many cases, McGowan may be one of the few adults who is listening.
I feel like, and I remind myself that I am a constant and consistent adult for these kids that they may not have at home, an adult figure that they can count on and rely on to listen to them. Unfortunately, sometimes these kids don't get that anywhere else but school.
It takes a special kind of person to do this job, one who is always there, who is respectful and relatable.
And when they look back, I want them to remember, okay, Miss McGowan is always in my corner. She was always there helping me get through the day. So that's what I remind myself, because at the end of the day, these kids are going to be adults. And when they look back at their high school experience, I want it to be a positive one.
And McGowan says she gives them the tools they need to cope, to care, to make it not only through high school, but through life.
I can give them the tools to succeed, and I can believe in them every step of the way. and just allow them to believe that change is possible and that they can be that change.
At Tildenville Elementary School in Winter Garden, the road to an education is paved in chocolate.
So much chocolate!
We did our Florida Turnpike for, we were making chocolate roads and stuff.
How sweet is that? To help celebrate and raise awareness about STEM-related careers, Florida's Turnpike engineers taught 5th graders how to build roads using chocolate asphalt.
Oh my God. So we made a chocolate road and we found out that there are a bunch of other engineers that help around and build the roads of the Turnpike.
Oats, sugar, and walnuts represented the aggregates, while chocolate stood in as the tar and asphalt. The idea is to give students a better understanding of the real-life ingredients needed to build Florida's roads, both in materials and in people.
Just to introduce them and let them know how what is used for the roads that we use in order to maintain the construction, and just give them the knowledge of them maybe wanting to do that in the future.
Students also learned about self-driving cars and what it will take to drive that technology into the future.
Honestly, I just love the chocolate, but the coolest thing I learned is the self-driving automated cars, especially the one that Google made like 10 years ago, because since it's been 10 years, I'm sure we can make a better one.
The idea is to not only teach kids about how roads are built, but perhaps to inspire them to become an engineer. But who knows where that road will lead.
Did that kind of open your eyes to maybe wanting to be an engineer one day?
If my WNBA plan does not work.
Third graders at Pinewood Elementary are learning about Black History Month, but they're doing it in a different way.
It made me learn a lot of stuff. When I was reading books, I didn't know some words, but I read it over and over again until I got it.
The class is working on Black History Month PowerPoints, where each student chooses a significant figure from history and researches them for what they call a living wax museum.
And I will be giving you guys a presentation on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
So the kids are having a fantastic time making presentations, learning about their special person that they're chosen, and then discussing who they chose with other people as well, so that we're all collectively learning about a whole lot of very important historical Black figures.
Students are also celebrating the culture and customs and even dressing the part.
Everybody is wearing a dashiki because we are proud to represent our ancestors. We're proud to wear clothes that represent royalty.
It makes me remember my ancestors. It feels like freedom when I wear these.
But this is about more than just learning. It's about being inspired.
And so I can gain the same reputation that Martin Luther King has in this world.
Those are big shoes to fill, but these third graders seem ready to take the steps to get there.
Offer grace when people doesn't deserve it. Be kind. Work hard.
And perhaps that's the biggest lesson here. It's not just about history, it's also about the future.
I need them to know that we are standing on the shoulders of giants. And what we do going forward is all attributed to the people who came before us. So if we hold their values dear to us, we can use that to push ourselves and the next generation forward.
Tina Bullitt has been a school counselor at Cypress Creek High School for 15 years, and in that time, she's likely helped more than 6,000 students.
We give our students hope and inspire them to reach their goals by teaching them the skills that they need and giving them the resources necessary to be successful.
At Cypress Creek, school counselors work with students grades 9 through 12. That's 3,500 students, and with 8 counselors, each will help more than 400 students a year.
So a typical day would involve parent walk-ins, parent-teacher conferences, student meetings, classroom guidance presentations, group advisement, counseling on college admissions, working with students when they have mental health crises.
Right now, Bullitt is involved in scheduling, when teachers bring their classes in and counselors meet with each student one-on-one.
We're looking at the courses that they're selecting for the next school year, looking at their progress towards graduation, and making sure that the classes they're selecting matches their post-secondary plans.
And some students need much more.
Many of our kids are homeless, unaccompanied. They experience home violence, pregnancy, even deportation. For us, it's important to reach all students so that they have the skills and the resources to reach their goals.
The school counselor's work, it seems, is never done. And thousands of students later, Tina Bullitt is delighted to have played a role in shaping their future.
So you're doing a lot better this year. It's a great job.
When you love your job, it doesn't seem difficult, and then at the end of the day, you know you've made a big difference.
At Gotha Middle School, it's cool to be kind.
Thank you.
We are all accepting that we are practicing kindness every day.
Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the Legislative Committee did meet today to discuss our federal and state priorities. We did narrow it down, and those priorities will be coming before the board, I believe, at the next board meeting for discussion and approval. And after we approve them, we'll be able to find them on our website so that the public can see what our priorities are for this upcoming legislative session. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other committee reports? Okay. Seeing none. Any other item? I'm sorry. Oh. Superintendent, do you have a report for us? I am so sorry. I'm not looking at the script, obviously.
Actually, I just want to point out one thing, and I thank several of our speakers who mentioned Resiliency Day. I want to give kudos to Dr. Brown Cannon and Mary Bridges and her team. I had an opportunity to visit a couple of schools. I know some board members did as well. And really the activities, the sentiment that was voiced around the Resiliency Day and what was happening really was powerful. And I just want to give credit to the team. Additionally, and we'll have this up, I believe, on our website, we have a card with the QR code for our parents and our families where they can also access resources. And so all the way around, great job. It was great to see it. And on social media, if you didn't have a chance, there's tons of stuff on social media from what they were doing in the schools.
Thank you. Ms. Enval? Okay. Vice Chair, is this old or no? Okay. Member Ferrand. Recognized?
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make a quick comment about Resiliency Day as well. I'm super excited about it. I am excited to see the shift from just focusing on mental health, where I feel like you could almost make it kind of a downer of where resiliency brings everyone up, and no matter how you're feeling, that you can come out of the way that you're feeling. We can gather around and we can be there for each other. And the one thing that I'm very, very thankful for is the transparency from the district. Very easy to access for any parent who is not sure. I did a quick little video on my Facebook page that you can go to and just see. It's on our canvas, the parent canvas. You scroll through, there's a little, basically it looks like one of your kids' classes, and you click on it, says resiliency, and you click on that, click on their grade 6 through 12, and you can see all the different really step-by-step what your child will be looking at, which I think is very, very nice for parents. I think even some in the audience that spoke to that as well. So really thankful for that. I love it. I love seeing what our schools are doing. And then also just wanted to touch real quick on what Mr. Swenson spoke about earlier about the cell phones. And I want to applaud and thank this board for really sticking with the no cell phone policy, and even with some pushback. I think we are already seeing, just as he said, we're seeing some amazing results already, and just kids seeing that. as much as we love our phones, it really is cool to see the kids just be able to come out of their shells and talk and have fun, hang out, play games. And so I'd love to see even more of that and hear more of how the no cell phones is helping our students. So that's it.
All right, thank you. Member Byrd?
Thank you, Chair. Real quick, I want to go back to the building safety, and I just want to kind of put in, besides the doors, I just want to kind of put in gates. Usually I see schools doing a good job of closing off second gates at buildings, but I do have to say recently I've seen a couple that have had another gate open besides the main one, and it just concerns me. So maybe if we could just put checking gates more often on our checklist as well. And then Resiliency Day, I had a teacher or a safe counselor at one of my schools send me some pictures today of she had like signs that said, "I am resilient because," and the kids could come and write on it. And I just wanted to share just a couple that the kids wrote. "I am resilient because I can adapt to my circumstances. I am resilient because I never give up. # you can't stop me. I am resilient because I always choose kindness. I am resilient because I want to be an example for my younger sisters. I am resilient because God woke me up this morning." So I think, I never stop trying. I mean, I think it is absolutely so positive. I do understand what the gentleman was saying, because I don't want to take away from the seriousness of mental health issues, and that, a mental health issue is a physical issue. It's not something that, if you have a serious mental health issue, that you can't just snap out of. It is something that you have to see a doctor about and you have to get help for. And I think that our schools do a really good job of helping our kids that really need help. But I think that these were great activities just to build that overall positive school culture. And I have to say, you can definitely feel a difference. I've been out in so many schools, and it's just, they are joyful places. Remember how we talked about bringing joy back, over a year ago, and they are really joyful places. I've been really pleased. And I also had one of my student advisory committee meetings last week for one of my high schools, and they brought up the cell phones. And I said, "Okay, you can let me have it. That was me. It wasn't your principal." And so they said that it did feel like a prison the first couple days. But one of the students did say that he's getting used to it. He used to have to use the music to help him focus. And now that he can't, he's figured out how to adapt. And he says he's getting used to it. And I explained to them, the reasons we did it, and they really did understand, and they agreed that they think that they will see these positive changes too. They didn't say they're quite seeing them yet, but they did say they would see them. And I wanted to just add that they also, speaking of the issue before of the budget, the two biggest concerns, and usually I would say it would be things like maybe cafeteria, bringing back, sugary snacks or something, it would be some stuff like that. But their top concerns were teacher shortage, because they don't have teachers. One of them is in Algebra 2 and doesn't have a teacher, and they're not learning the same things that her other friends in Algebra 2 are learning. And bus driver shortage, because they're having such a hard time getting to school. So those are the concerns of our kids. And I think that just further brings the point that we really all need to be fighting harder. So, thank you.
Thank you, Member Byrd. Member Felder.
Thank you. I remember when I first, knew that we were replacing the term with resiliency, I was having some issues. I said, we can just call it what it is. But listen, I went to one of my schools today, Washington Shores Elementary, and I'm gonna put the little pictures in my news letter. Oh, I was just so excited. I went to a PE class, and the little ones, 4th graders, they were in the class and they were talking about resilience and what it meant and about failure. The question was about failure. What does it mean to fail? And then they started talking about when you can't do something or you're criticized because you didn't get it right. But then they said, okay, now how can you become resilient? They say you keep doing it. You never stop, And so I was just excited with little Washington Shores. And at some point, I know Superintendent, you always get invited to schools. But they got a little store in there called the Jag store, the Washington Shores Jaguars, and they have the church partner is Washington Shores Presbyterian Church, so they donate all these things, and they got drum sets and bicycles. One little boy last year saved all of his points to get a bicycle. I mean, I was just so impressed with that. And I'm like, oh my God, so they get all these points. So I enjoyed Resiliency Day today with the little ones. It was wonderful. And as a board member Bird was saying about the phone issues, I was called out. I was at Jones one day, and they was like, the principal introduced me and said, "This is board member Felder. Y'all got a problem with the phone? That's who y'all need to see." I said, "Okay." So I said, "Come on, come with it, bring it." But what the high school students are doing at Dr. Phillips, instead of the phones, they're playing games. Like they have games. Board games or whatever, they do that. And so they're, it's new, but they're getting used to it. So I'm glad that we are resilient in our desire to make sure these phones are put away. We're exercising our resiliency. I'm so happy about that. But I had a good day today with the little ones at Washington Shores. So, we're on a good path, y'all. So I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Felder. That's a good way to close us out. If there's no further business to come.
I thought she said Alicia. Oh.
No, she did. So if there's no further business to come before the board, this meeting is now adjourned.
All right. Go get your signatures. Hurry up.